if you think about an integrator coming into a startup, there's just so much to do. You can't hire for all of the different seats that you need. Therefore, you have to wear all the hats, and you just got to be comfortable moving with speed, getting stuff done, doing whatever's required. I mean, if you need to go sweep floors at the end of the day, you got to go sweep floors at the end of the day. But once you scale and you start moving kind of out of, entrepreneurial startup into more professionally managed or middle market size, that's when you really start having the capital to hire the seats, hire the people that you need to kind of grow the org chart a bit.
Welcome to Fixers and Founders, where vision meets velocity. I'm Tony.
I'm Forrest.
Today's guest, John Wallet, executive leader, integrator, and the kind of ops strategist who doesn't just drive growth, he keeps it from turning into chaos. From Wall Street trades to field operations, John's built a career aligning people, process, and data. At STC Safety and Risk Management, he helped double revenue, streamline ops across industries, and roll out a total risk approach to safety that turned accountability into a culture. He's run EOS in the real world, built decision systems leaders can trust, and helped founders stay focused on the work that moves the needle. If you've ever felt like growth is outpacing your grip, this one's for you. I'm Tony.
I'm Forrest.
This is Fixers and Founders. Let's get it done.
You didn't start a business to put out fires, but here you are, holding the extinguisher. Business isn't theory, it's pressure, late nights, tight margins, the thing that keeps breaking no matter how many times you fix it. When the room's on fire, the amateurs shout, the pros stay calm. That's the Fixers and Founders way. Part discipline, part rebellion. We walk into broken systems, find the pulse, and make it run clean. Because calm isn't weakness. Calm is a strategy. We're operators, builders, problem solvers, born from the grind, built for the builders. Join us now as we chat with fixers and founders just like you. Let's jump in.
Glad to have you, John. Excited to talk to you today. You have worn a lot of hats, from Wall Street to wealth management, ops, safety. What pulled you into this kind of leadership?
Yeah, it's interesting. To your point, Forrest, I started off in the finance world. I was an investment advisor for a long time, and I got really good at that. Was asked to then start taking on management of teams of investment advisors, and from there just moved throughout the ranks in different financial institutions and doing different things. But what happened was actually about 6 years ago, an entrepreneurial friend asked if I would help him with his business venture. And he's very much a visionary and was struggling with things that visionaries struggle with. He was just starting his EOS journey. And so he knew he needed an integrator. And I came on board and was there for nearly 6 years. And that was really my introduction to EOS in a formal setting. I like to say that, I was born this way, but I just didn't know that it had a label until I joined a company that was running on EOS.
You're a closet integrator. You just didn't know it.
That's right.
Yeah, we seem to find a lot of people like that. I know Tony and I have talked about it a good bit offline, but it seems like a lot of us.
Right here. Yeah, I'm one.
Yeah.
100%.
Closet integrator. You just didn't have the language, didn't know what to call it.
Yeah,
So,
that's exactly right.
yeah. So tell me about what's the difference between running operations and being a true integrator? What have you found to be the difference?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on the business. In some businesses, the integrator, I mean, they are in the day-to-day. They are doing the stuff. They are in the trenches with the team. I think as businesses scale and they get more mature, you have to do that less and less. You have to kind of continue to elevate and delegate and push responsibilities and accountability down, which then frees you up to have a little bit more white space, right? Some time to process and think and strategize. I like to think that ideally an integrator is probably a mix of living 50% in the present and 50% in the future, right? Where a visionary is probably spending, 80, 90% of their time in the future because they're thinking about, steering the ship and where it's going to go, and less time actually in the day-to-day mix.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I was talking to a coaching integrator that I coached this morning, and we were talking about, she just exited from a current position and realized how much she was in the weeds too much in that role. And with her new role, she's going to be out of the weeds. So you really got to get out of the weeds and focus on the business, working on the business instead of in the business.
Yeah. And like I said, it really depends on what you need. And some people actually have a preference for being in the weeds too. So stylistically, there's also nuance there too.
That makes sense. And John, to your point with all of this, how much would you say is hinging on the size of the company?
In terms of how much time you spend on the day to day,
Exactly.
I would say a lot hinges on it. If you think about an integrator coming into a startup, there's just so much to do. You can't hire for all of the different seats that you need. Therefore, you have to wear all the hats, and you just got to be comfortable moving with speed, getting stuff done, doing whatever's required. I mean, if you need to go sweep floors at the end of the day, you got to go sweep floors at the end of the day. But once you scale and you start moving kind of out of, entrepreneurial startup into more professionally managed or middle market size, that's when you really start having the capital to hire the seats, hire the people that you need to kind of grow the org chart a bit.
And speaking of scale, Forrest,
Yeah. So you've run EOS at scale. What part of the system do companies overlook or misuse the most from your experience?
Yeah. I mean, what I found was in my experience is the early phase companies don't spend enough time or effort building systems because, the systems are what's going to give you that foundation to really drive business forward, right? It creates operational efficiency. It creates consistency in the customer experience because you're following a play, right? You know what to do. You know what the drills are. The sooner an organization can do that, regardless of size, the better off they'll be. I mean, otherwise, what I found is everybody kind of just does things their own way. And it's really wild west. It's kind of chaotic, and that leads to all types of issues.
Yeah, I'm working with a startup company right now, and just building some basic systems and structure to how they operate will make a tremendous impact. They're already seeing it, so it's neat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things I've seen is, I came from a world where like you lived and died by your CRM. If it wasn't in the CRM, it never happened.
no, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, there you go. So, startups a lot of times don't have CRMs. I mean, I remember coming into this business and I would just ask simple questions of just trying to understand more about our clients, but there was nowhere to go to look for that information. It was all tribal knowledge.
That's a great way to put it. Tribal knowledge. Wow. I'm going to put that in my back pocket. I like that. So, John, thanks for joining us last minute today, too. Appreciate you filling in that slot. And you got a reputation for turning that data into then action, right? What's your approach to getting the teams that you work with aligned around the scorecards that you provide them that actually work?
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, like a well-run business, usually what you'll find when you look at these types of companies is that everybody's aligned, right? From top to bottom. Everybody's incentives are hitched to each other's. And so if you've got the scorecards and you've got the metrics and you've got the data that you're measuring everybody by, it's easy to tell who's kind of falling out of step with the rest of the organization or with, the VTO and EOS language. So the better you can put into place kind of those guiding north stars, as it were, or those guardrails that keep people within the organization from going too far out, the better. It's all about putting scorecards in place that go as upstream as possible, so you can see the issues before they really do much damage, and allow you to ask the right questions at the right time before it's way too late, and then you're just reacting, right? There's nothing you can do at that point.
Yeah, John, as far as getting that action out of the team, what's like one example that you've used? And I'm sure this is another instance where it's going to vary based on the business and the team, right? Not a one size fits all proposition. But if you could name one tip, what's one tip you would give our listeners about how to get that team to rally around and actually take action, and use that system now that they've got it put together for them?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things. I mean, for like the customer facing frontline employees, right? Like, give them a way to understand or identify quickly client or customer engagement. so that they can see if that client or that customer is bought in. And if they're not, then you can quickly get those clients back on the rails. But without knowing that, you're really guessing the status of the relationship, which could impact, revenue and a whole bunch of other things. That's the quickest example that comes to mind.
So you've helped STC double revenue and pivot during the COVID era. What did you learn about scaling while under all that pressure?
Oh my gosh. Um, it was interesting because scaling at that point really became about by just listening to our customers and our clients and understanding what their needs were at the time. I mean, COVID was a crapshoot, right? We didn't know how different rules or regulations were going to affect business. We didn't know um, what the downstream effect of anything was. But as we engaged with our clients, we heard consistent things about what was being demanded of them. And they had needs that we weren't filling because the environment was changing. But as they told us these things, we quickly went into solution mode and found a way to close it. So the issue was that our clients were large construction companies and they were working for their customers were like Amazon and other data center builders or developers. So these were massive, massive projects that Amazon did not want to have stop or shut down. So what they had told their customers, who were our clients, was that, we need business to continue as usual. We obviously have to follow COVID protocols. We need you to help us figure out how to do that. Funny enough, I reached out to a friend that I've known since high school, who was in medical staffing. And I said, hey, here's what we're hearing. We're hearing from Amazon that they're demanding that there's nurses in place, that people social distance, that we're logging temperatures as people come and go. I don't know anywhere to get nurses. Could you get me some? And they're like, yeah, no problem. So we quickly contracted with them, got nurses, put them on our clients' projects. The projects ran really, really smoothly. We made up a ton of revenue that was being offset by a decline in managed service. In fact, it ended up turning out to be 2 really, really good years in an environment where it could have been really, really bad.
Wow. What is one metric, John, or rhythm that helps you keep founders out of the weeds?
Oh my goodness.
Besides slapping them over the head.
Yeah, yeah. There's sometimes we want to do, but we're professionals and we don't. A couple things, I guess. I think having a regular same page or a regular kind of sounding board type of meeting on the calendar is important. And holding that time sacred. We would try to find, an hour or two on a Friday and just block it out. And that was our time to really just kind of process and digest the week, go back through to-dos, look at issues, talk about our team, reach out to clients, whatever we needed to work on other projects. But it's really just time to be visionary and integrator and remove ourselves from the grind at the end of the week and just, process what had been going on and start planning for the next week. I think that's really important.
That's good.
So we got some wild card questions. Not that all these questions weren't wild cards, but
Sure.
these are even more wild.
And they're not all that wild yet. Maybe we'll start to get a little more
Wild and crazy.
Okay.
wild and crazy guys as
Yeah.
we progress here.
So what's something most people wouldn't guess brings you peace?
Oh my gosh. You could probably guess this, but I mean, on the personal front, like my son's a baseball player and I love he plays a lot of baseball, a lot of tournaments. So on the weekends, that's what we're doing. And it's nice to just sit there in a chair and just watch baseball. Sometimes I'm yelling because I don't like a call or I don't like a play or I get a little animated, but it's just nice to sit there and just take it in and not do anything except watch him play and root for him. And usually our family's with us. And so we're all just enjoying that time together. Goodness, what else? I love just, listening to podcasts and learning. If I can just absorb information and engage my brain, that brings me a lot of peace. I really enjoy that. I tend to be a very optimistic guy anyway, so I don't get rattled by much. But when I do, those are kind of the things I turn to.
Now, John, you're not going to go getting too rowdy at your boys' ball game and we're going to wind up seeing you on World Star Hip Hop or anything, are you?
No, I'm not going to be like the Phillies Karen who gets a
Lost
little
her job.
I saw that.
rambunctious and
Give me my ball
turns
bag.
into a meme.
So, John, last question here for you, and thanks again for joining us today.
Sure.
What is something small that you hope the people closest to you always remember about you?
I would hope that people remember kind of how I made them feel. I try to be as empathetic as I possibly can. I feel like, I'm driven to help others. I think people around me really know that I care about them, and I think they'll remember that, and I want them to remember that, and just how involved I like to be in people's lives and knowing how they are. I would say that most people who know me as a pretty warm, helpful, resourceful type of guy, and they're glad they had me in their corner.
Right. Well, this was John Wallet, a reminder that execution isn't just about getting things done, it's about knowing what matters. Whether he's untangling ops or translating data into momentum, John's work shows how structure doesn't slow you down, it actually sets you free. If you're leading, building, or just trying to stay ahead of your own success, rewind this one and listen to it again. I'm Forrest,
I'm Tony.
and this has been Fixers and Founders.
Oh, my darlings, look at you. Still here with me till the end. That's how I know you're one of us. The fixers, the founders, the ones who build in the chaos and still manage to laugh through it. Drop a comment, share your sparks, and connect with each other. This is where the net weaving begins. Like, share, and subscribe to keep the fire blowing. Until next time.